Again, thank you for joining us for this Chapter Knowledge series. For those of you who this might be the first Chapter Knowledge series you're attending, we do several of these around different topics throughout the year. And so we're happy that you're here today. We do record these sessions to use in the future and to also share the information for those who cannot attend today. So the topic today is around AI and how the chapters can potentially start to use this technology. Part of this stems from a workshop that we did with the chapter executive directors and chapter staff in November around different ways of options of AI that's out there. And we have Alicia, who will be presenting today from our headquarters staff. So I will turn it over to Alicia so we can go ahead and get started.
Thank you, Kelly. All right, thank you for joining us for our February Chapter Knowledge series. So as Kelly mentioned, this does stem from the workshop that we had in November with some of our team members and leaders. And part of this is a lot of my personal interest in artificial intelligence and just technology in general. And as I've been playing around with it in the last few months, I've really just tried to discover ways that it could be beneficial in my work life as well as all of yours. So I hope that you all are open to the conversation and that you could possibly go on to find ways to further approach your adoption and possibly utilize this throughout your chapter operations. First, I want to say AI is not a replacement for human interactions. It doesn't have the empathy or the dedication that lies in the heart of our community building. Instead, I view it, and I hope that you all will view it as well, as a powerful tool, a collaborative partner, and something really to help you work a little smarter and not quite as harder. Uh, and just with the ultimate goal of finding ways to better serve our members than we did before, because it's here to stay. It's a little scary, but again, it's just finding ways to make it work for you. So I did find a video that I would like to share that kind of prefaces that and helps us to better embrace and understand the technology that we have as it continues to grow.
When you hear the term artificial intelligence, what comes to mind? Superpowered robots? Hyperintelligent devices? Science fiction has familiarized the world with the concept, but outside of Hollywood, what is artificial intelligence and what can AI actually do? For starters, AI involves using computers to do things that usually require human intelligence. Humans can see with their eyes and process what they see. We can understand our environments and move around within them. Our brains have the ability to see patterns, and we have the ability to understand spoken language. Artificial intelligence is a broad branch of computer science that includes many different terms. In order for computers to achieve these capabilities, they require lots and lots of data. Large data sets allow AI algorithms to identify patterns, make predictions, and recommend actions. Artificial intelligence is already all around us, but today's best AI still can't compete with the human brain in some ways. For example, in 2016, the computer program AlphaGo defeated a legendary professional Go player. But if you asked that same computer to drive a car, or walk, or even play Monopoly, it wouldn't be able to do so on its own. AI's computing power is massive, but our human brains are able to tackle a much wider set of data and methods.
All right. And some of the things I want to make sure that we keep in mind as we continue more is the technology will never know your chapter better than you know your chapter and what your chapter needs. So I urge you to approach this adoption with understanding, openness, but also cautious optimism. I am going to go over some safety precautions that you might want to keep in mind should you decide to implement some of the solutions into your operations. But again, I hope to provide a starting point that kind of catapults your own research into solutions to help you go further. And as I was doing my own research, so I found some really cool case studies that show how it's being utilized in nonprofit sector on a global scale. So navigating through an era where technology is at the forefront of change is really, really remarkable to see how it's being leveraged to address some of the most pressing global challenges. Your adoption of the technology doesn't have to be anything grand or groundbreaking. It just simply needs to work for you. So some of the things I really want to focus on as I was making this, there's so much to go over, and I really wanted to find a way to show you all, well, hey, this is what you can do for this specifically. So I chose to focus on efficiency and automation and tools that speak to that. So uh, AI can help you to automate some of those pesky administrative tasks that just take some time to get started, whether it be a really lengthy email or give you some insight in how to word social media posts. It can also help with feedback from events, feedback on member experiences, and it also can help to analyze data and give you insight. And so I just want to make sure that we're understanding that leveraging artificial intelligence and program management, it helps to enhance operational effectiveness as well as your resource allocation, which one of your most valuable resources being your volunteers. One of the most incredible things that I have learned is that with the data, AI is able to identify a lot of patterns and a lot of inefficiencies and a lot of areas for improvement. And I find that that is something that you all could possibly use going over year by year. And so I'm really imploring you all to start utilizing SurveyMonkey, especially for post-event, post-programs, to get member experience feedback. So you can really see, well, this is how this program has changed over time, or this is what our members feel about this event. Maybe we need to reallocate resources for this. And so it really puts the data in front of you, but it takes a lot of the legwork out of it for you. Again, AI can be good in automating those time-consuming tasks of data collection, and you are able to pinpoint parts of the data that have the greatest impact on your membership and their experiences. So when you all registered for this webinar, I had what may seem like an odd question. I asked I asked everyone, what is the one Olympic event that you all are looking forward to this summer when the Olympics come back around? Got some pretty interesting answers. And the purpose of that was for me to get data so that I could show you how to analyze trends, possibly from an event feedback survey that you might want to implement. So with that, I copied and pasted the information that you all gave me and your names, and also made sure to include the state of your chapters because I want to use that down the line. And I just asked it basic questions such as, can you analyze this data for me? And from there, you should be able to see what the most common answers were. The thing that I've learned with a lot of these AI tools is a lot of the most basic ones are language models. And what that means is you're just talking to it. So essentially, I'm having a text conversation with ChatGPT, which is what I use for this specific exercise. And I started to ask it questions about the data. And so I started to get more tricky. And I realized as I went on to continue to play with it, had I had more information, it really would have become a lot more fun. And I think that you all will get some great insights as you use that for your feedback. But as you're talking to it, I did some things such as asking it, can you specify chapters in the Midwest, chapters in the New England state? What was the most common responses? I asked it to show me if anybody with the same first name and last initial answered something in common. And so it was able to show me all of that. So just in using that, it's a good breakdown, but you kind of have to get creative in how you speak to it. And there's no pressure to really be scientific in how you're talking to it, but it's essentially a real conversation. As it would give me some of my answers, I would just continue to drill that down to more finite things that I wanted to know.
Alicia, really quickly, for that, what system did you use to collect this data or to do that analysis?
This one is from ChatGPT. I did use another one through Google, which is called, well, it used to be Bard, but it's called Gemini as well. For another exercise. Yeah. Other exercises that I did was I wanted to try something relating to sponsorships. So I found an old sponsorship packet, and I took some of the information and copied it into Gemini to construct an email for sponsorship solicitations. So if you look at it, it's very generic, but this is the third attempt, I want to say. The first email that it gave me had 8 paragraphs. I told it this is too long, drilled this down to 4 paragraphs. Still didn't like it, told it to do the 3, and this was the final result. Now, even with it, there are a lot of things I would still change, but it helps to get out of that writer's block of, okay, how do I start this? Where do I want to go with it? Which sometimes can take all day. And I find that using this to really just get the shell of what I want to say is really helpful. And just tailor it and personalize it to your chapter and to the sponsor that you're looking to connect with. And then on the right side, I made up fake answers for an M100 course because I wanted Gemini to analyze those. So just to give me an idea of what it looks like to see how it can further be efficient. So with this engagement feedback exercise, I was able to see some of the trends in the answers, such as instructor quality, learning materials, and recommendation based on the feedback from the fake answers that I gave. So those are some ways to discover trends from your surveys and just from general data collection. Doesn't have to always be something that you send out in the form of a survey. It could just be, let me compare retention rates from this time to this time. So you can really get creative with it. Some practical considerations that I think we should definitely keep in mind. Assess your chapter's readiness to adopt any AI technology. You may not be ready to, and that's fine. It's totally up to you all, but as the technology continues to advance, I think it's important for us all to know what's out there so that we do have options to streamline our operations. And if you do decide, hey, we could use some help with social media posts. We need someone to we don't have someone to do that. This would be a good tool to adopt. Identify the tools and resources that best work for your specific needs and budget. I do want to say specifically as far as budget, some of these do come with a price point and it varies depending on what you need it for and what you're looking to get out of it. So that may be something that you need to consider. And if you do decide to adopt something, please make sure that you build some sort of trust and establish some ethical guidelines with it. I say that just because some of the responsives that I've seen online in regards to using artificial intelligence, they reiterate the fact that, oh, well, it's not personal, there's no creativity, it lacks empathy. But that's where I implore you to make it your own if you're going to use AI solutions for anything. And just make sure that any staff members or committee members or any volunteers that if they're using it, they understand what the guidelines are. And also be transparent about any technical difficulties and limitations that may arise. It's still technology. It's going to fail at some point. It's not 100% accurate. And so you just want to make sure that you're double checking its work in a sense. Now for safety and precautions, which I think is really, really important as we continue to navigate through this. I have a poll or a survey that I wanted to get you all's information on. And it's just to see what you think are potential risks and limitations of incorporating uh, artificial intelligence into your everyday operations. And what do you think are the ethics surrounding and how to use it responsibly within your chapters?
A lot of unknowns, plagiarism, responses not sounding like yourself. Let's see, wrong information. Again, a lot of results are built from what it's seen or what it's finding. And so again, if the wrong information is input or if there's false information out there, there's always that chance. And so again, Alicia, like you were saying, I think that's really important, right?
Yes, especially with ChatGPT. So I'm in grad school, and so I was doing something and I wanted to double check an article 2 weeks ago. And so I was trying to find the name of the article, and I was just putting in words in ChatGPT, and ChatGPT essentially made up an article and a citation for it. And so last week I read that, it was academia warning against, artificial intelligence being used for, things which obviously plagiarism comes into play. And so it will just make up a journal article, and this article did not exist whatsoever. So that is a big thing, especially if you are. I would take it with a little bit more than a grain of salt, but you want to double check your answers. Also, one thing is tone, not sounding like yourself. That is a big one. uh, you can go in if you get your first draft, and you could say, make this a little bit more serious. It will attempt to change the tone, but you still have to play with it and to get it to sound like you. And that goes back to what I said at the beginning of the webinar. It's not you. It doesn't have your personality. People will mostly know, oh, that's not this person. They don't sound like that. So you want to keep that in mind too, as far as appearing authentic. And also, I want to bring up data privacy and security. Those are two of the things that should be top priority when implementing any AI solution. Uh, I'm sure you all have seen on different websites, as soon as you log onto the website, that chat box may appear and say, hi, I'm Alicia, and what can I help you with? That's artificial intelligence. And we've had that around in different stages for a while, but I wouldn't, if I'm using the chat box for the website for my bank, I wouldn't give it my account number. So you want to keep these things in mind and to protect yourself and your chapter members and their information, and make sure that anyone who's going to be using these tools, they have the proper training and support and understanding to know that this kind of want to use some sincere, like if you wouldn't post it on Facebook, don't tell it to Chat GPT or anybody, and I'm guessing we all here would not put our bank account information or exact budgets on Facebook. So you kind of want to keep that rule of thumb. And I think it's key, if you are going to really, really fall down and take a deep dive into the AI approach, develop some generative AI usage guidelines that set in stone. You don't disclose this type of information. I know that our marketing and communications team, they are currently updating our branding and style guide to have some verbiage that you all can use as a starting point to implement within your own chapter operations. And lastly, technology isn't perfect, like Kelly said. Fact check, proofread for accuracy. And if you decide, I kind of harped on this in a little bit from the last one, where to begin? It's so much information, even with making this presentation. I didn't know where to start. And I just thought, what do I need to tell them? Identify a specific area where AI could benefit you. That might be with your newsletters, that might be assisting with social posts if you get something that can automate those. And if you do that, part of your guidelines might be to have some sort of disclaimer that this was generated by AI. And then utilize member knowledge and the volunteers on those committees. They may be willing to kind of have their own sort of task force to lead the AI implementation process if that's something that you really want to move forward with within your chapters. And this sort of piggybacks off the last slide, just as far as taking action. Who knows, some of you all may go on to become the best practitioners in AI. If you do, please share what works for you, what works for your chapters. If you discover something new and exciting, please let your liaison know. I would love to know personally, because it could be something that works for many of us to solve problems. So make sure that if you are going to take a good approach, a deep dive approach to this, that we're collaborative and we're sharing, because we definitely want to help one another out with this adoption. And so now, sort of for the fun part, I call these the big three. You have ChatGPT, which is powered through OpenAI. Copilot, which is through Microsoft, and then Gemini, who used to be referred to as Bard. That is through Google. So most of the AI tools, if they're language models where you go in and you sort of talk to it, it's been through these big three. They do have most of their common functionalities is that one of them is that they all have tiers. So with ChatGPT, Copilot, and Gemini, that base level tier, that is your free version. It's going to be very limited. Copilot has some specific GPTs, which stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, which means think of it as a widget or an app that is specifically for this type of task or this type of information. So they may have a GPT that's toward recipe building or a GPT towards travel itineraries. It's specifically tailored towards that. As you get up towards their more higher priced and tiered, you're going to have those really, really good capabilities. And those do come at a higher price point. I do have ChatGPT's second tier, and I think I paid $20 a month for it. I find that it's worth it. I like that it's reasonable. It does allow me to play around and have access to different GPTs outside of, just the basic ones. So that may be an option that you want to explore for your chapters as well. And if you want to just completely nerd out like I have and dedicate a lot of time to learning more about this, there are some learning platforms that are available that are tailored specifically to the nonprofit sector to help us to learn more and to really see the social impact of this technology. You can subscribe to their newsletters. I like to check these every now and then just to see if there's anything new and upcoming that's popped up, such as the Nonprofit AI Institute and AI for Good Foundation. And they do have some courses available if you really want to become dedicated on Coursera and edX. And in the chart below, these are some of my favorite websites and extensions. I put Scribe up here first. So this allows you to document processes and create how-to guides. I immediately thought of succession planning for chapters in using this because it documents processes and it helps with the offboarding. So I've used similar technologies such as Loom and Screencast to document processes in other jobs, but that might be something that you want to consider. If you need help creating content, whether it be social media graphics or video editing, Runway ML as well as Canva Magic Studio, they have AI capabilities. I know some chapter leaders, they are utilizing Canva as well. And so if you want to really take it up a notch, they do have the AI capabilities built into Canva. I want to say that comes with their Premiere losing my word, the Premiere, not sponsorship. I can't think of it. You have the yes,
Package.
thank you.
Yeah.
The package, yes. Golly, I was about to say sponsorship. I was like, that's not it for this. And then one of my other favorites, Bardeen and Grammarly. So if you are not a wordsmith and you need some help generating text as you write the emails day to day, Grammarly, I have been using Grammarly for about 5 years, and I have a personal premium account, and I download it to every device that I own, including iPads, work computers. I will have Grammarly until the end of me. I love it just that much. And then Bardeen, if you are looking for more of a mini assistant, Bardeen does integrate into Microsoft Outlook as well as the Google Suites and some project management tools. I know it will integrate with Asana if that's something that you like to use or anyone that may have additional staff to manage tasks. And so those are some things that you might want to consider. With these, they all have a free version, but as I mentioned earlier, you're limited with the capabilities of those. And then once you get up from the free version, you have a middle tier and then your more expensive one that's geared towards big companies. So just something to consider. And as we end, I want to make sure everyone knows the signs because AI is around you, whether you have realized it or not. Anytime you see that the AI sparkle emoji, as it's been called, AI's in the vicinity. So I want to post some examples for you. If you are a LinkedIn premium member, you have AI automatically built into your membership. You can generate responses to people's posts through AI. You can, I want to say, if you see someone post something and you want to learn more about that person, there's a button with the sparkle and it says, tell me more about this person. And I'm guessing it'll just give you a running tab of their accomplishment and their resume. Um, the LinkedIn AI capabilities have been evolving almost weekly. I'm noticing. Also on Canva, that post what will you design today, the top emblem, that is how you access Canva Magic Studio, as well as maybe for Facebook or Meta, whatever they're calling it these days. I know with some businesses, they have their messages automatically fixed to where if you send them a message, you're going to get an AI generated response and that gives them time to respond back. So just know if you see that spark, AI is there. You can choose to use it, or you might be interacting with it whether you want to or not, unfortunately. But I think it's important to know the signs and know that it's pretty much here to stay at this point. So that ends my presentation. Now I'm available to take questions. Hopefully nothing too hard since I'm not an expert.
So I have a question, and it might be geared towards you or Kelly or somewhere, Crystal, that's on the call. It's come up in our chapter a couple times. I know we touched base on like the plagiarism, but are there any, is there a conversation going on about limiting people using AI for writing, say, president's messages or articles in their chapter magazine or anything like that? And will it be, I'm sure there is a conversation already, and then how will that be enforced? And
so within our marketing team, I know that I believe, Alicia, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you connected with them, that we are asking that if AI to write their articles, that they let us know, and we will be starting to put a notification with that article. So you might start seeing when you're reading articles that this was written with the assistance of AI. I've started seeing it on news articles or from other nonprofit associations already. So I think that that's a good question to start to add. As our marketing department is coming out with that new brand model, that's going to be included with that to make sure that we're seeing that and to give some guidance to all of you of what questions to ask when you're collecting the articles and the statement to use if they are using AI within the article of the writing of the article.
And I can't imagine somebody would lie about it, but are there tools to kind of check their work, right? So somebody submits something and you asked if they used AI and they say no, but you're reading it and you're like, this doesn't really sound like that person. Is there a way to kind of cross-check that? And then what happens if you find that, I mean, you really do think that they did?
I'll comment on that, Mandy. There are tools out there that I know universities are using, and I know our education team has, kind of started talking about, is that necessary for like our PCAM case study? Because anybody on the call that has their PCAM is like, nobody better be writing that with Chat GPT, right? So, so that's one thing that we are looking at. I don't know what the cost is of that. I mean, like I said, universities are using it, so I'm imagining it's not like a $20 a month subscription type deal. But what I would say for things like your newsletters or any content, if you're reviewing presentations before they're delivered, is the chapter has the right to edit these things, right? So if I send you an article and you're like, yeah, no, that is so not the feel I want for that, you have the ability to change that, and that should be in your guidelines. The editing guidelines, those are for the chapter. So I don't know that there's anything you can do to be like, no, you're a liar, because you wouldn't want to do that, right? But if you see that being a habit with a certain person, I mean, I think you just know that you're not going to ask them to write an article anytime soon. So that's, I know that's not real technical in nature, but that's just how I'm thinking I would handle it.
I think that's something you put in your guidelines as a disclaimer that leadership can choose to not move forward with something that has been generated through AI technology, and that be a part of your guidelines, and just let them know, hey, even though this is something you're spearheading, it doesn't automatically get published in the newsletter because you wrote it and this is the position you have. It's still at the discretion of being approved.
Gotcha. No, thank you so much. And I think, Kelly, like you kind of coined, maybe that language, like this was written with the assistance of, right? Because a lot of it is your own information and ideas and content, but it just kind of fine tunes the message and makes it sound a little better sometimes. So I'm totally for it and a proponent of it, but I know I've had some conversations with colleagues in my chapter, and they're totally against it because they're writers, they're author, like they love to write, and they're really great with their vocabulary and articulation, and others struggle. So I could see it being a good tool to just really get your message across and make you sound make it sound a little bit better, but not totally fake at the same time. But so I think if you have that language like assisted by.
Yeah. And Manny, I think that's a great point. Not everybody is a great writer, or not everyone can get started with writing something. And this might give the ability for someone to feel more comfortable in writing something. And so it shouldn't always be looked at as negative, or again, plagiarism or false facts. I think if it's used correctly and in the right manners, it can definitely help you in a lot of ways. And I also recommend playing around with it. As of this fall, before we did the workshop in November, I had never touched it because I was scared. I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know what it could do. And just playing around in Chat GPT, it really changed everything. It gave me a starting point for a lot of things, even social media posts. If you ask it to do something and say, I would like a social media post, and you put it in, it will give you fun little GIFs or little emojis to use, and it can bring some fun. Or you can say, I want this more serious. And like Alicia was saying too, it's an interactive, like Chat GPT is interactive. You can say, can you make this shorter? Can you make this within 300 words? And then take it and really edit it to yourself and what your purpose is for it. So it might be scary. I think it's changing daily. Every time I'm logging in the morning, there's different, hey, this feature is now out there. You can design a coloring book now and say, I want to do outer space, and now you can do this. Or again, even within Microsoft, different analyses from within Excel or things within Word, and even just tracking what you're doing on your computer to help you do your schedule for another day or to track your time. So I think it's just really playing around with it and finding what's going to work with you and what's going to make it efficient, and knowing that every day it's going to be changing. Does anyone else have any additional questions? I know this is a very new kind of topic within our world. Is anyone else scared to use AI, that you came in today kind of scared? I see some head nods and hands raising. And I think that's the great thing, is this is very new. It's in 10 years. The young generation is going to be laughing at us that we're having webinars like this, and that we're scared because it's going to be so ingrained into things. But again, play around with it. You can't break it. You're not going to break Chat GPT, and it's free. Go ahead and play with it. Again, if you have Canva, the Magic Studio, ask it for something and see what it can do, because again, you're not going to break it. So try to have some fun with it. And if it's not the right fit for you, you don't have to use it either.
Hey, Kelly.
Yes.
One technical thing I'll say is that if you're using ChatGPT in particular, there's a certain way that you have to copy and paste it out of there so it doesn't show up with little boxes around it. And then it is very obvious that you use ChatGPT then. So even if you start editing it within that, it will keep those boxes around it. So make sure when you paste it in plain text so you don't end up with that.
Thank you for that too. Great point. And then just make sure you're double checking things. Again, just like anything else that's out there, it's only as good as what it was built. And so just know, again, this is scanning certain things are scanning the internet, certain things are scanning certain files or pictures or images. And you can even see when AI develops images right now, it can't do fingers very well. So that's a very quick way to see if AI did an image, look at the fingers, because for some reason it just it doesn't understand what a finger is within the AI world. Probably in 6 months that will change. But again, so it's little things that it's only as good as what it can be for right now. So double check things, make sure you're rereading things. Again, it could get things wrong based on an accent. I think another just really cool thing that PowerPoint released recently is that you can do live language translation. So you can be presenting a presentation and it will automatically change that to a different language. I forget how many languages it currently has, but that's another great way that if you have multi-language people of different languages that you're maybe trying to communicate to, that it does offer that through there. So again, changing every day in all of our different systems that we're already using, and just play around with it. And please share with the group. We have exchange groups for our chapter presidents and president-elects and our chapter executive directors, or even send us an email here at the headquarters team, and we'll make sure that we're putting that in the weekly communications, because we're all in this together. So if something's really working or there's something really cool that others might be able to utilize as well, let's share that and let's be that peer group during all of this learning.
I just have to share, you were bringing up about the fingers. There's an app called Remini that, it's one of those AI photo generator things. And me and my girlfriend sure had a good time with that. All of a sudden we were on a boat in the Caribbean, but yeah, you look at the hands and it's so funny. So if y'all need a good laugh, go do one of those photo generation apps.
Thanks, Mandy. Alicia, any last statements you want to tell the group before we close it out today?
I would say go back to cautious optimism. Be open to what's out there, because I swear every time I find something new, or it's like, how can they do this? But be smart. It's still the internet, and the internet can be a scary place, but we can also benefit from it.
Great. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. I hope you were able to take something away from this knowledge series. We will be posting this recording if you want to share that. We will provide the link and all the additional resources that Alicia put together for us today into the toolkit, and we'll send that out to you all within that weekly email that you should be getting. If you're not getting that weekly email, please reach out to one of our headquarters teams so we can look into why you aren't getting that. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a great Leap Day tomorrow. Celebrate that. It only comes once every 4 years. So I hope you have a great extra day in 2024, and we will all talk to you all soon. Thank you.